everyone, and welcome to this week's WP Product Talk. If you're new here, I'm Katie Keith, CEO and co-founder at Barn2 Plugins, and normally I'm joined by my co-host Matt Cromwell from StellarWP and also co-founder of GiveWP, but unfortunately he's been called into an urgent meeting, so you've just got me today and also our guest who we will introduce in a minute. Our topic today is talking about thinking outside the box, unlocking the potential for new WordPress product ideas. And we're going to give lots of tips and sharing our experience on how to find great product ideas to make your business a success. And last week, we started a new thing on WP Product Talk where we're doing things a bit differently. And we're having another member of the WordPress community introduce our guest. So today, we're going to have Adam Silver from WP Kitchen Sink, who has very kindly offered to introduce our guest. I'm now going to show you a short video from Adam introducing the guest, and I will see you on the other side.
Hi, I'm Adam Silver of Kitchen Sink WP and Concierge WP. I'm here to introduce today's WP Product Talk guest, Adi Spiac. Adi is the co-founder of Cozmoslabs, a WordPress company that focuses on building WordPress plugins that you can rely on. Those plugins include Profile Builder, paid membership subscriptions, and most recently, the multilingual plugin TranslatePress. Starting back in 2009 with Profile Builder, they now have over 150,000 websites using their plugins. A fun little fact, I actually used that plugin for a not so popular site called backupspeaker.com. Yeah, I launched that back in March 2020, which was not the best idea in the time to launch something where a service where people get together in person. Pandemic and all. Anyway, now here's Adrian. Enjoy the show. Bye.
Well, that's brilliant. Thank you very much, Adam, for the excellent introduction. That's a really great intro to Adrian. And hi, Adrian. Welcome and thanks for coming on.
Hi, Katie, and hello, everyone. And thank you, Adam, as well. That was a great intro and a perfect name and family name pronunciation. So hats off to Adam.
So, well, thank you so much for coming on to talk about how to come up with and make a success your new WordPress product ideas. I thought that you would be the perfect guest because you have multiple products in all different niches within WordPress. So I thought that would be perfect to talk about how you came up with the different ones and give people some advice. We always start off by talking about why we think it's such an important topic for WordPress product owners. So I will start by talking about why I think it's important. And for me, there are kind of two types of WordPress product business. There's one where you have one product that you put all your energies into, such as GiveWP, for example, which Matt would have talked about if he was on today. But at Barn2, we've always been the opposite. We have multiple products for WordPress and WooCommerce. And I really love that because it's kind of spreads our audience. Every time we release a new product, we get a bigger audience. But of course, to make a new product a success, you have to know where the idea is going to come from. You have to validate that idea and execute it. And that can require a lot of energy compared to just one product. So I think it's a really important issue. What about you, Adrian?
Yeah, absolutely. These are very valid points. There are pros and cons to each approach. So if you have this one product that's working and that takes all your focus, you can go far and do great things with it. But also as to an advantage to having like multiple products and coming up with new ideas regularly. This is a great approach to minimize risk, to also like diversify, try like different markets, different niches. And this is also fun, like doing new things, it's fun. Sometimes you get bored of doing the same things over and over, and you want to try new things. And I believe that trying new things, experimenting with new products, and can also like help your business. It can be like the perfect way to grow revenue, because at some point your existing products may hit like a ceiling, and coming up like with new ideas or new types of products that you could even cross-sell, for example, this can be a great revenue booster moving forward. So I see many advantages in looking, or at least keeping your eyes open for like a potential opportunity in the face of or in the form of a new product.
Definitely, yeah. You've touched on some really good points there. I love what you said about being able to diversify and cross-sell between the products. We do that a lot too, and we'll talk a bit later about how to get the ideas, but often that is a source of ideas, your existing customers. So I think that's a really nice point. So should we talk a bit about where we get the ideas? Because your products, some of them are kind of connected and some of them are quite independent, aren't they? Like TranslatePress seems to be less connected than the others in a way. So how do you come up with the different ideas?
Yeah, so we don't have that many products. We basically have a couple. We have some focused on communities and memberships over at Cozmoslabs, and we have a very popular translation plugin called TranslatePress. And the story behind the first product came basically. It was back in 2010 when we discovered WordPress, started consulting, working much more with WordPress, doing a lot of like custom development and consulting in WordPress, and also all the things that we faced, we started blogging about them on Cozmoslabs blog, and slowly started to build an audience there. So at one point, my colleague, Christian, wrote an article like detailing all the limitations of the current like WordPress registration system, how nice it would be like to have things like front-end registration forms and beautiful profiles, and keep users out of the WordPress backend, and just be able to build a community around your WordPress site. And this was one article that gained traction very fast and got a lot of comments, and it was, for I believe more than 2 years, one of our most popular and most read article. So when we saw that a lot of other people had the same issues, they were facing the same like frustrations and friction in terms of like customizing or creating a beautiful like user registration system, we decided to build something, and that was the first product. It's called Profile Builder. I believe it was, if not the first, one of the first WordPress user registration and profile plugin. So we launched pretty fast a free version on the WP.org repo. And also because of the popularity of the blog post, we managed to build like a beta testing list and have people like test our product, but also sign up for a premium version. So when we launched the premium version, which was, I believe, maybe a month later or something like that, it didn't take very long, and it wasn't very sophisticated, but we wanted to ship something quite fast. It had basically sales from day one, which was an amazing feeling, just to see that people were actually buying what we built. And so it was based on a pain point that we had, but also we had it was shared by our audience, which I think that's the most important thing, because we built also other products, which was just we built them for us, which weren't so popular. But Profile Builder, due to the fact that it came from a real pain point that was shared by a lot of people, which were in our audience, it turned out to be something that people wanted and people found really useful. Yeah.
That's really interesting. So you blogged about various topics, and one of them kind of hit something with the audience that people were actively searching for. And I agree, it was a huge gap. And the amount of websites that you click lost password and you get taken to the WordPress lost password or login form, and you're like, no, this should be on the front end. I'm not an administrator or whatever. And so that was a real pain point that people that needed to be fixed. And so that's a really good way to come up with ideas. You're providing something of value to the community with your blog posts, and then that leads to a product idea, and then you validate it because you know people have the problem.
Yes, absolutely. So basically this was more or less like try, then something hits the nail and becomes you found basically a real problem to solve and fix by creating a product. And this is the perfect scenario, and this is a great approach when trying to look for new product ideas, like to find some gaps in the market or to find some friction with existing solutions, or maybe find a way to create something that already has like different solutions, but you can do it better or easier. And so these would be like great approach to those. Or if you already have like a customer base, what we did and what I believe many WordPress product people do is just, listen to your community, listen to your users, like existing customers, hear what they need and want. For example, with our paid member subscription plugin, the membership plugin, the idea for it also came from our profile builder users, which were looking for a simple way to have people like have their users pay to be able to like register or create a profile on a type of like any type of community website. So they needed payments. And we had the options either to create like an add-on, like a product add-on to profile builder, but we decided like to let's create like a fully featured like membership plugin and offer it, make it super compatible with profile builder, and offer it like on top of like offer it to existing users, but also like try to reach other types of users as well.
Yeah, so which makes sense for that use case, because you can see how closely connected they are. And I can totally imagine that people that were using the profile builder features to allow users to create profiles, which are and different fields and everything, and the login side of things, would then be asking you, yeah, but how do I do the rest? How do I take payment? How do I make a membership area? But I also completely understand why you decided to make it a separate plugin, because membership plugins, that is a standalone thing as well. And so that makes sense. It's a bit like when we have customers for an existing product who are asking for a particular feature. Sometimes we add it to the plugin. Other times we're like, actually, no, this is a separate plugin that should integrate. For example, our WooCommerce product table plugin. A few years ago, we were getting loads of people asking for quick view buttons in the product table, which would open a light box with more product information. And we decided that even though they were asking for it as a feature, it was a standalone plugin, because quick view buttons have their own place, even if you're not using product tables on the default shop page layout or something like that. So we released our WooCommerce Quick View Pro plugin as an integration, but it's not an add-on of product table or anything. It's a totally standalone plugin. So we get people using it alone or the two together. So that's quite similar. Whereas, of course, other feature requests are not new product ideas. They're just either features or add-ons that are really integral to the first product, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, and these are like different types of like scenarios. One where you can like you write something and it becomes popular, and then you figure out the problem. Then you listen to your customers and you figure out if it's a real like a separate product or it should be like a feature. There's also like the case with our multilingual plugin, for example, TranslatePress, where there were because people think, okay, new product ideas needs to be something new, something that nobody did, something that's unique, that's groundbreaking. But that's most of the time that's not the case, and it shouldn't be the case. That you should figure out, even if it's like a very crowded market, how the translation plugins market was super crowded. There were already, when we launched, there were already super popular solutions. But we found some gaps in the market, in the sense of a lot of beginners, non-coders, people that like struggled with a lot of settings or setting like a multilingual website, found it really difficult to use. And we found this in forums, we found this in like Facebook groups, we found this ourselves by working with those solutions through our like consulting business, and decided like to build something for beginners, to build something that's super easy to use, that's visual, that lets you translate everything in context. So you don't have to go to setting pages to translate the text that actually appears on the front of your website. And when you look at a piece of text, you have no idea where that text is located and how would you best translate it. So that's also an option, to look at the current solutions, to analyze, see if people are frustrated with some of the current solutions, and if there's something you can do about that. That can also be a great way to tackle new product ideas.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant what you did with TranslatePress, because you're right, the previous solutions at the time were incredibly complex, and everybody knew that they were very difficult to use and everything. But what you did was take it a step further and find a completely new perspective on it, a new approach. So you didn't just look at what they do and try to tweak it a bit. You came in from the front end and did it completely in a new way that hadn't been done before. So I think that's good. I'm interested in how much of a departure that was for you, because your other plugins were, which I think were all pre-TranslatePress, weren't they?
Yes.
Are all
Yes.
kind of in the same field. With translations, that was taking you in a completely new direction.
Yes, that was definitely getting us out of our comfort zone, and it was also pushing us to. We had to believe a lot in the. Let me just try to, because the spring is already here, so which is, and the sun is setting beautifully. Yeah, so we believed very much in TranslatePress and its capacity to become a player in the multilingual market. That's why we put a lot of it. It wasn't easy like to grow it from scratch in this like overcrowded market, which we can get into later. But because we really believe that it's actually easier, it's actually better, it will help a lot of people because of the way it works. All this confidence helped us like keep the course and keep developing and putting resources into it, and it paid out in the end. But it is completely different, and it was something completely different. But I'm happy that we made this because it was like maybe a risky move, but also something that could have paid important dividends along the line, like down the line.
True. And to pick up on something you said near the beginning, I agree that it does keep you motivated to have multiple products. Like I know some product owners that sometimes feel a bit kind of burnt out because they've been doing the same thing for so long. But I don't really feel that I've been doing the same thing for a long time, because it's different products and the things I'm working on now are different, finding new markets. So it's kind of like reinventing your business when you come up with a new product, isn't it, in many ways? So I think that's quite motivational.
Yes, and it's a great exercise to like continue to go through that process of like launching a new product, building a new product, marketing a new product, like all that skills are great to like do them over and over again, because I believe you get better at it. I believe you learn different things every time. I believe that having like multiple products helps you like look at things from different angles, like see, even understand the characteristics of each customer type, of each like type of request. You even pricing wise, you learn a lot from different products. Some you can price at a certain price point due to its their target audience, others you cannot. So I find all of this really interesting, and I believe the only downside is on focus, that you like shifting focus on all these on multiple products can cause some energy drain sometimes. So it's
and
good,
capacity drain as well.
and capacity drains,
Yeah.
right?
I do worry about that quite a lot, that I think for my most successful products, if I put as much effort into them as my friends who have companies that just have one product, then if each of those had that resource, how successful would we be? So I do feel kind of torn in multiple directions. So yes, you get the economies of scale from having multiple products. Like we have a really long product launch checklist, which we add to every time, as you just said, about learning. So that's really good that we can keep learning and making each launch more successful. But I do worry about being spread more thin over time. And so I wonder how big we could be. If sometimes I think that the goal should be to put the same resources into each product as other companies would put into one, but that's not necessarily easy, of course.
True, but this is also a learning process. Let's not forget that you get wiser, I believe, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a WordPress product owner, by going through all these experiments. You figure out what works for you. I don't believe the same things work for everybody. So maybe some are like running very successful business, like you are running multiple products. Others just focus on one and it works great for them. I don't believe there's a perfect solution for everybody, but I believe it's worth trying and experimenting with new products and new product ideas. Even if some of them fail miserably, I think it's still a learning experience, a good learning experience that will help your business in the long end.
Absolutely. We have 20 premium plugins now, and they're not all super successful. There are some that only make a handful of sales a month, but they're generally the simpler ones that require very little maintenance as well. But we certainly couldn't run the company just on the revenue from the little plugins. And then sometimes it's surprising. So I quite like trying different things. Obviously, you do work to validate your ideas, but I like to have different things to try and see what works. But when you're launching new plugins for an existing company, one decision to make is whether to put it on your main brand or have a whole new brand with a new name, new domain and everything. And our plugins are all on the Barn2 brand. They're all on barn2.com. And some of them actually aren't very closely related to each other. So it's not necessarily because they're a good fit. Like we have one plugin for easy digital downloads, like 4 that are just WordPress. And
Yeah,
then the rest
we're using
e-commerce.
that one, and I was
Excellent.
thinking the same thing. Yes, the EU VAT one, right?
That one, yeah, EU
yeah.
VAT. So that doesn't fit with anything. We only built it because we needed it. So we scratched our own itch there, and the existing plugins didn't meet our needs for meeting European VAT law. So we built one and launched it. That's actually an example of one of our lowest sellers, but people within the WordPress community really like it because it's sort of really good for selling plugins, and it's all digital products, and we keep maintaining it as much as anything because we use it as well as lots of our friends within the WordPress community. But that's not a particularly well validated product idea because the market is too small. And yeah, so that's an example of the other side.
Yeah, well, I'm very happy with that plugin, and we use it on both websites, just so you know.
Excellent. And yeah, people love it, but it doesn't
Yeah.
actually get that many sales, but
Yeah.
it does the job, and we use it. And
Exactly,
lots of people do.
exactly. And
Yeah.
regarding like launching like a new brand for each product, or like keeping it under an umbrella, this is we have like both somehow. Like TranslatePress is a standalone brand, has its own website, and also because what you mentioned previously, that this is like a completely different product, tackling like different niche like translations versus like profile builder and paid member subscriptions, which are handling like community websites and memberships and like courses and things like that. So we try to separate them in that sense, and I believe it depends on how big of an audience and how big of a reach you think a product might have. If it would make sense like to have like a separate website, and you would need like all the marketing, like content marketing, to build everything from scratch can be tough and might not be worth it. So it's not always a good idea like to just spin a completely separate brand, and it's most of the times a good idea to use what you have, your current audience, traffic, and so on, and maybe like cross sell, or use the success of current products to promote new ones.
Yeah, I think you've done very well, because it was a bold move to create a new domain for TranslatePress, but actually it's got really good authority, and you've really built that up as a successful standalone domain. And I noticed that you do cross promote it. TranslatePress features on the Cozmoslabs homepage, for example, even though it's on a separate website. So I think that's a good balance, and it's given it a whole brand. It can be a bit like sometimes you have it both on. How do you choose your T-shirt for WordCamps, for example? Do you put? But I'm trying to remember what you had on in Berlin. Was it both?
The good part is that you have multiple days, and you have to change your T-shirt. So we have like, yeah, we had separate T-shirts. Like we had one day we wore Cozmoslabs, the other day TranslatePress, and so on. So, but yeah, that's one of the things or you can like put everything.
Yeah.
We'll see how we'll do it this year.
Yeah, that's coming up. So we've talked about the different ideas you've had for your products. Next, I'll move on to my story time and talk a bit more about how we get different products ideas. So it's actually quite similar, where we originally were a WordPress web design agency building sites for clients, and one of our clients paid us to develop a particular plugin just for their site, which listed blog posts in a searchable table, because they had hundreds of posts and they wanted a really easy way for users to find posts. So we did this table. And then we decided to add more features to it, such as more customizable columns and settings and stuff that the client hadn't asked for. And we released it as a free plugin for the community. And amazingly, most of our business has grown from just doing that one thing, just like with your one blog post and then a free plugin. And then you were able to go do multiple premium plugins on the back of it. So first of all, people started asking us to display custom post types in their table, which previously the free plugin was only for blog posts. So we did that and added custom fields and taxonomies and all these other things you could display in a table. And then we just, by watching how people were using the plugin, we came across all these amazing use cases for dynamic tables that we never thought of these ideas. These are not our ideas at all. We're just listening and going with the flow and building a business on the back of it. So, for example, we found that lots of people were displaying members, like creating a searchable directory of members or consultants or something with our plugin. Lots of people were displaying an audio gallery where you could listen to audio snippets in a table. And lots of people were listing documents as well. So, but the biggest request in the end turned out to be WooCommerce products. So we went from displaying blog posts in a table to an order form basically for WooCommerce products with add to cart buttons and variations and tons of e-commerce specific stuff, all from this blog post table that a client got us to do as a minor project. And so our biggest two selling plugins have always been WooCommerce product table and Document Library Pro, both of which are primarily table plugins for a specific use case. And I kind of love that because all through my 20s, I wanted to start a business and just never had an idea. And then we kind of gave up on the idea of having an idea and just like, right, let's build websites for people. But if you just do something and you get yourself out there and listen and absorb what's going on and you learn an industry, then I think ideas kind of come to you through your exposure to these opportunities. So we've never sat down and had an amazing new idea. I'd still love for that to happen, but it turns out it doesn't actually have to. You just have to put yourself out there and listen to the ideas that come to you. And a lot of our other plugins have still spawned from those first ones. So, for example, last year we've released a WooCommerce filter plugin, a WooCommerce product add-ons plugin called Product Options, and that's all largely from what people wanted to do with their product tables. And again, like I said with Quick View earlier, we decided no, this is not a feature for product table. This is a separate plugin that product table people could use, but also work separately because all stores need good filters, for example, if they've got lots of products. So we just keep doing different things and more ideas come and we build them. And that's kind of always been our strategy. So I don't have any great tips on how to come up with the best ideas because I say they come to you.
I think that's a great story, and I think that that's encouraging for all of our watchers, viewers, listeners, because idea. If you think, well, how do I come up with the next great idea? It's you put so much pressure on yourself, and I think you try to do it backwards somehow, instead of just trying to get involved in your audience, in your niche, and your niche were WordPress sites at that point, and then at some point you realized, okay, you had that, and then everything came from, like, you had some client requests which led to a product which was useful for a lot of users, and everything like snowballed from there, sort of. So yeah, I think just like getting involved in the community that you are eventually or ultimately wanting to serve, and to I think that's the best first step, because that's how you understand and you get exposed to pain points and problems and so on. So you don't need to like sit on the couch and just think, okay, what should I build next and for whom. It's just get involved, get exposed to what others are looking for, and you normally do this if you work on something and you provide value somehow to others.
Yeah, I think in society there's a myth really that the people that are super successful just have these ideas out of nowhere, and that's perpetuated by programs like Shark Tank and Dragon's Den and things, where people often put the idea first, and that makes you think that to be successful you need to come up with this killer idea that's never been had before. And I think both of our experiences show that that's not necessarily the case, and maybe that happens sometimes, but I'm struggling to think of examples now.
Yeah, and it's also very dangerous. Dangerous in the sense of risky, to like try something that's so like world changing and that's super innovative and so on. Most of the times, the things that are going to be successful are in places where you can find a lot of like demand and a lot of solutions that already exist. You can figure easily that, okay, there's a market for this, because if you see like a lot of plugins doing that, or you see something like, if you don't find any plugin doing that, just launching a new one to do a specific task might be, I don't know, might be not enough of like not big enough of a market to financially make sense to go in that direction. So this can also lead you, like sometimes you can be the first and you can like innovate and do like great things, and it might work. For us, it didn't. We never did that, to be honest. I mean, with Profile Builder, that was, I think, the closest to like being the first. But most of the times, I don't believe it actually works out. And the winners are the ones who come like second or third and polish everything and make it better. And people realize, oh, this is actually something I need. And or the need is created somehow in that market.
Well, linked to that, let's talk a bit about validating ideas before we close. So how do you check that an idea has actually got the market? For example, with TranslatePress, you knew it was a big area and there was a gap, but there were also quite a lot of competitors. So did you have any evidence it would be successful? And how did you validate that idea?
Yeah, I think you should also, like, we also went on intuition a little bit here. So we knew our solution will be simpler. We knew there was a big market for it. What we didn't knew is how are we going to compete against all these like bigger, much more established solutions. That was the thing we didn't know. We had a plan, but we didn't know how long it would take and if it would work out exactly as we planned. But because we had faith in the product, we stayed the course. And as I mentioned, I mean, I think this was the recipe for why it worked out in the end.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah. We need to do something similar. It's partly through our knowledge of the industry that we validate ideas, and partly through intuition and so on. Sometimes if you are coming up with an idea on the back of an existing product, you at least know that your existing customers are a captive audience who might be interested as well. So that helps. But I must admit, I'm not an expert in market research and all the things that we probably should be doing to validate our ideas. So there is a whole other area that you can do into that, isn't there, where you really get that evidence beforehand, which I just get the plugin out there and market it, and hopefully that's enough, which probably isn't the best way.
Well, because you already have like a big user base and you already get exposed to a lot of like feature requests or things that, you know, they want differently, or would it be nice to have that. I believe you as well. I mean, we also track all of these. We discuss them. We see which one makes sense to have like as a new product, or as an add-on, or as something that you could maybe cross-sell. So this is a very good source of new product ideas. But you can also just look at all these like online communities. You have WP forums, WP org forums. You have like Facebook groups for a lot of popular tools. You have a lot of like resources, online resources, which you can scan to figure out recurring issues, or where there's friction. And maybe by doing this, you find a real pain that your potential users have, and you can also come up with a fix for it in the form of a product. So these two approaches, I believe they're super healthy. The more like established, as you said, like the market research one, this is sort of a market research, but it's like on a smaller scale and a smaller segment. But it might work out really, really well. And also something else that I've thought about was like, and we're trying to do, is when coming up like with a new product idea, see if there's any way you could like position yourself in alignment with the industry trends or with the your niche trends, like the WordPress trends, and where you think WordPress is going and what's the direction. So you don't want to build something that's going to be obsolete in 1 year or something like along those lines. There's always that risk. You never know exactly, but it's better if now you have like a huge AI trend that can also bring a lot of opportunity, and it's also all over the place with the current like products and solutions that appear, and probably most of them won't be successful. But those that will, I believe, have like a huge advantage because they launched like somehow early, and they were like early adopters.
You're right. AI is the place to be looking for ideas at the moment. I do worry it's going to get saturated very quickly, and a few big players will dominate everything. And we're waiting to see how the dust settles really on that. But that's definitely somewhere to be thinking. When I find myself trying to have an idea, that's usually a bad thing. But I admit I have thought like, oh, AI, we should be doing something in that. Where's an idea? And which I think is the wrong way round, as we've discussed. So need to resist that urge unless you've in that space and you're seeing genuine gaps that other people might have not spotted, or it's your specialism or something like that.
Yes, with AI, I don't know. Right now, I'm just looking what other people are building. Like I'm trying to see as many things and see what can actually be useful. We've been using it. For example, we've used like an AI, we trained an AI model like for our support channel. A year and a half ago, maybe 2 years, and its main purpose, and we use like all the customer information we had and questions and so on to train it, and the main target was to have that initial reply like drafted for us, which now has there are many solutions doing this. And it was like a cool experiment. It wasn't perfect, and the volume of messages we received wasn't enough to make it like really, really good. But it was an experiment, and I believe, you should like keep experimenting and also trying like current solutions, because you may use something and realize, oh, this could be like a nice addition to our product, or we could do something similar with our product base, and so on.
Yeah. So do you still use that to draft your support responses?
No, we stopped. It didn't. It didn't serve its purpose in the end. We figured it's. But I think right now we're gonna try one of those services that I mentioned to see how that goes, and to see if that could be better or is better.
Yeah, like DocSpot is about to launch Help Scout integration.
Exactly. Yes, that's one of the one that we're looking. We also have like a lot of like automatizations and so on support, for example, that we're trying to, and we already integrated. So that's something you could maybe not just for new products, but you could use AI, for example, or other like new ideas to optimize like other parts of your business. And maybe that can also lead to some product optimizations or new product ideas.
Yeah, a lot of people are using, we should have said that really, but I haven't done it. A lot of people are using AI for new product ideas, and you see like Twitter experiments and things. I asked AI what WordPress plugin I should build and bring to market. And so that's another way. Although I would say at least guide it in an area that you specialize in rather than just any plugin, because if you're already in somewhere and passionate about it, it's likely to be more successful. So I probably wouldn't give it a totally blank piece of paper. So let's move on to the final part of the podcast, which is what's your best advice for new plugin shop owners? This is where we summarize everything we've said into what's the one most important thing we've said. And for me, the top tip I would give is to get yourself out there into the community, whether it's products, services, it doesn't matter, because that is when you will be exposed to the wealth of information and opportunities and gaps and pain points. And that is where your ideas will organically come from. And that will be in the area you're interested in and specialize in as well. So they're likely to be better ideas than if you sit in your armchair thinking with a blank piece of paper in front of you, what's a product idea I could create? So my advice is to get yourself out there. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree. This is like probably the most important advice that we could give like to new plugin owners or people looking like for a new product idea. Just put yourself out there, try things, experiment things. I would add the finding a pain point, like know your community, know the community that you're trying to serve. If you can build an audience early, write blog. If you're learning to code, write about that. If you have a website that I don't know, and you want to target WordPress, write about WordPress and see where that goes. You'll notice that some blog posts are more popular. Some plugins get more, like if you have like a plugin listicle, you'll see some listicles are more popular and so on. So you start to get a feel over what works, what doesn't, and take it from there. Once you have a clue over a real pain point and a real problem that you can fix, then it's and only then it's time to actually build something. And please don't start like with just I'm building something just because I want to build it. Just if you enjoy it, you can do that. That's also allowed. But there's a chance that it might fail, so you might take that chance. But if in the case that you start with an audience, start with a real pain point, and then also like market the product to that audience that you already created, things will be much easier, and the product's chances of turning into a success like increases.
Definitely, totally agree. So that wraps us up. Well, thank you very much, Adrian, for coming on the show. That's been fascinating, and you shared so much interesting, useful, actionable information for everybody. Thanks also to Adam from WP Kitchen Sink for the amazing intro. That was great. And if you enjoyed this podcast, hit like, subscribe, and all the usual things. And we will see you next week, which is about a different topic. Our special guest will be Pavel Chiorchi from WP Zoom, and we'll be talking about navigating the Gutenberg landscape, building a profitable WordPress theme business in a changing market. That's a mouthful, but it's also a very important topic because Gutenberg is obviously changing everything, and theme shops are having to really rethink almost on an existential level how they will keep relevant and ahead and offer something with the existence of Gutenberg. So I'm really looking forward to that. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Great.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Katie. I had a blast, and thank you for the invite. And looking forward to the next episode.
Yeah, excellent. Well, see everybody next week. Thanks a lot, and bye.